Hey everyone, it's Richard Solomon, and I'm really glad you could join me for another one of these installments and videos as it relates to starting your own business, starting your own consulting practice or firm, being an entrepreneur. And let me remind you to subscribe to this channel and also hit that notification bell so that when new content is uploaded, you will be first to know about it. Now, being an entrepreneur is a little bit different to the norm, and society operates based on norms, average behaviors that most people are expected to sort of engage in, and that helps society to work more effectively, more efficiently. Um, yeah, that's about right. Now, as an entrepreneur, we have to understand and realize that we go off the norm because the norm is not to start your own business, notwithstanding that most people work for some kind of business. But the norm is that you go to school, you get a decent enough education, you get a job somewhere, and you may change jobs, but you build a career working for other organizations. And again, I'll say there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is, in fact, the norm. Many people have great lives doing that. However, if you decide that you want to be an entrepreneur, then it's going to require some different thinking. It's going to require some unlearning and relearning of concepts, beliefs, changing of mindsets that will help you to be successful. Keep in mind that truths are not forever. They don't apply in every situation. Let's get a quick example. Many years ago, if you go back to pre-2000 and maybe 1, 2, if you wanted to buy something, a computer, because computers were around, yes, or if you wanted to buy a watch or a car, you would go to the dealer, go to the seller, go to the store and inquire, ask questions, maybe ask people who own that car or that watch about it. And that's how you did business. That's how we were able to purchase things, and that's how we pretty much ran our lives as it related to commerce and getting things that we needed to live. However, in the ensuing couple decades, what has happened is that there is a shift in terms of how we do business. I like to say Amazon is eating the retail world, so that Amazon is probably already responsible for about 50% of all e-commerce sales, and some projections indicate that they will be responsible for about 15% of retail sales. That does not include bars, restaurants, and cars. So all other retail sales, this is in the United States. And Amazon is well on its way to becoming a $1 trillion company. I think their market capitalization is just around $900 billion, if my memory serves me correctly. Now, what does that have to do with our belief system? Well, if your belief system is that you need to go to the store, if you're an entrepreneur selling stuff, then that requires you to shift your belief system. In other words, the truth that you knew is no longer true, i.e., the best way to market, sell products may no longer be to actually have a physical store. Yeah? So there are many of those that you're going to have to shift to be an entrepreneur. Let's look at a few of them and maybe a couple tips on how we can do that shifting. So I said before, truths are not applicable, or they do not always hold in every situation, everywhere. There are many different ways of living, and there are multiple truths on the planet. So many times, what we believe to be true and our belief systems and our learnings are very much tied to or connected with the environment we came up in. The environment we came up in tells us how we should live and tells us what's right or wrong. You went to school, you learned certain things, the school of the society taught you certain things, your caregivers taught you certain things, and now we have a belief system. We believe certain things to be true. But in another situation, if you went halfway around the world, you would see things very differently, or you would see people doing things very differently. I'll give you a for instance, and this one is easy. So in the Western world, I'm talking about the United States, Canada, the Caribbean, where I'm from. Those are good examples. Western world, we have some very clear beliefs about what one should and shouldn't eat. So you should eat let's say meats now. You should eat chicken, beef, veal, and we can sort of go down the list of different things that are recommended in terms of meats that one should eat. So this is for my meat eaters. But if you went to another part of the world, you would find that the belief system around what meat or proteins you should eat is very different. So, in some parts of the world, insects are considered to be absolutely wonderful sources of protein. I was in Botswana, I believe that was 2018, and I was there a couple of times in 2018. And in Botswana, like many parts of southern Africa, they eat, I guess we would call it a caterpillar. It's called the mopani worm. They call it the mopani worm. It feasts on the mopani trees. And they cook it in many different ways. Some dry it and smoke it, and they fix it up in all kinds of ways. And they eat it. And it's a great source of protein. Of course I tried it. What do you mean if I tried it? I can hear your brain thinking, did you try it? Absolutely. Tasted pretty good, actually. Now, our belief system says, my Western belief system says, well, why would we be eating caterpillars? See what I'm saying? But there's another way of being. And some would argue the consumption of insects releases a lot less CO2 into the environment, or the growing of insects, than other types of meat. I'll leave that for the environmentalists to argue. So how can you adjust or unlearn and relearn? Well, first of all, accept that your truth is just one way of seeing the world and there are other ways of seeing the world. Secondly, question everything. I love to ask why. Why are we doing this? Why is this structured the way it is? Why aren't we doing it differently? How come this exists? Why is this considered the best way? Is there another way? Question everything. And don't be too emotionally attached to the way you see the world. There are many other ways of viewing the world. Don't be too emotionally attached to your learnings. Yeah. Now letting go of your own learnings, that which you have held and that which may have brought you success, might be a little bit difficult. But don't be too emotionally attached to it. Success is tied to being able, in some ways, being able to adjust your view of the world so that it fits the current environment, so that you're able to be ahead of the game, as it were. All right. One of the things that we know, and I think it was Einstein that said this, the more I learn is the less I know. I say it a little bit differently. The more I learn is the more I realize, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know how much I realize I don't know so many things about so many things. And that alone should lead you to be able to say, maybe I can consider a different belief system. Here's another question I like to ask myself. What am I missing? When I think about a scenario or an approach to the world, I wonder, what am I missing from this? What's missing for me in this scenario? And connected to that, what is an opposite view of the view that I hold now? If I were to go on the other side of the argument, as it were, what would that look like? What would be the opposite view? Yeah. So yeah, another thing that you can do, and I try this all the time, is do and try and different things. Eat different things, like my example before. Um, Take a different route. Listen to different types of music, and give it enough time so that it sort of gets into you. Read different literature. You know, take a different slant. Try to understand that in today's world, where content is so greatly available, you can easily access other types of information, literature, music. All that stuff is widely available on the World Wide Web, as we used to call it, and that's not sort of said too much today. So yeah, those are some things that you can do. As an entrepreneur, you're going to have to relearn some views of the world. You're going to have to adjust some of the ways that you see the world. And that's not always an easy thing, but it's a critical thing in order to stay relevant, in order to be successful, and to make some of the adjustments you're going to have to make to be successful in your consulting practice or your business practice, whatever it is you choose to do. Thanks a lot for joining me. This is Richard Solomon. See you soon.